From the standpoint of a user, there are very few tools which offer as many opportunities for malware to be loaded onto a system as the Internet browser. Whether that's IE Internet Explorer or Firefox or whatever it happens to be, it's very important that the user have a secure browser so that they keep from downloading malware onto their system and that malware then making it onto your network. In this session, we're going to take a look at Internet Explorer 9 and some of the settings and tools that are there that you should know about. To begin with, on the top right corner of the browser, you have a gear. That gear represents the tools menu. If you want to have the old menu, which I always prefer, you can just simply choose to add the menu bar back, and then that gives you the tools options here. Beneath tools, you can see we can delete the browsing history. The browsing history keeping track of where we've been. That's useful if we ever want to keep administrators from knowing where we've been, but aside from that, it really doesn't serve a whole lot of purpose. The in-private browsing is a new feature of IE9, and what it will do is it will create a session that exists only for that browsing period. And after that is gone, it will delete those values. Now, it's very important because, as an example, I can choose to configure Internet Explorer to not accept cookies. If I do that, what will happen is my experience using the web will be horrible because so many sites require that you have cookies turned on and enabled. By choosing in-private browsing, what will happen is I will accept the cookies, but the cookies will be kept in the memory pages, and then it'll be cleared as soon as I close the browser. The same thing is true with temporary internet files. Anything that actually needs to be kept or written back and forth between the two machines will be allowed, but it will be kept in memory and then deleted afterwards. Web page history, passwords, and things like that will not be kept at all. So in-private browsing basically creates a private browsing session and deletes those values afterwards. Very useful utility that's there. The tracking protection, what it will do is it will check against a against a list of known sites that do tracking and then alert me if I'm visiting one of those sites. So all I do is enable that, and then the list of sites will be updated on a regular basis. The same thing is very true with the Smart Screen Filter. What Smart Screen Filter will do is when I go to visit a site, a list is checked of known malware sites and phishing sites, and if it looks like I'm going to one of those, I will get an alert telling me that I'm going there. I can choose to continue on, but hopefully I'll be smart enough not to do that. The pop-up blocker basically turns off pop-ups, so pop-ups are not allowed with the exception of those which you do allow. And if we go into the settings, you see here that in this particular machine, we're allowing pop-ups to occur from Universal Studios, from JCPenney, and Google and a few other sites there as well. You can always choose to add additional sites to the list, but for the most part, all pop-ups not appearing in that list are blocked. On the bottom of the list for the tools menu, we see the Internet options. The Internet options have a number of tabs. Here I can also choose to delete the history files. If I choose to delete the list here, I can delete not only the history, but also the cookies, the temporary Internet files, and all the other values that are there. If I move on to Security tab, I can see that this is set for medium security. It's enabling protected mode. Same thing for privacy. I've got medium security there. I don't want sites to know where I am, so I'm going to choose to never allow websites to request my physical information. Obviously, I've got the pop-up blocker turned on as we saw before, and in private is enabled. If I go to the Advanced tab, there are a number of choices here. We're going to scroll down and take a look specifically at those related to security. And there are some choices here you obviously want to make sure are not checked. For example, you do not want to have checked for allowing content from CDs to run on my computer, for allowing software to run or even install even if the signature is invalid. Those are things that you want to make sure are not checked. You also want to have checked that you're checking for the publisher certificate revocation. Make sure that it hasn't been revoked before you're using it. Checking for signatures on downloaded programs, and so on. You can easily configure it to empty temporary internet files for the browser when the session is closed, even if you're not using the in-private browsing. So that's a nice feature to have there. Other options that are here, warn about the certificate address mismatch, and warn if the post submittal is redirected to a zone that does not permit posts, which can be often taking place if you're trying to be redirected to another location, to a farming location there. So that's a very useful thing to know. The last item of note is if I choose the Security tab and then click Custom Level, it will show me a number of different options that it's difficult to find elsewhere. Many of these are related to security and the user security. I'll be able to choose whether I want to allow downloads or not, be able to choose whether I want to allow font changes or not. If I scroll down towards the bottom, you can see that I can turn on cross-site filtering. Cross-site filtering will check to see if it believes the site is doing cross-site scripting, which is a common way of actually downloading malware from the server. And by configuring the filtering on, it will see that that's occurring and hopefully block it or tell me that something is happening there. I can configure the Java applets, whether I'm being allowed or not, and as well as the user authentication and log on there. This has been a quick overview of some of the security settings in Internet Explorer. Again, most browsers work this way. They have similar settings in them. I encourage you to take a look at those settings, configure them as you like on your machine, and then make sure that those changes get rolled out to all users in order to keep not only their session secure and their browser and their computer, but also your network.